going on, YouTube? Eric Bauer, obviously. You're on the channel, you're watching the show, you know who it is. It's your man, Eric B, High Definition Television, back with another video, Vinyl Community. It's a little bit of a different sort of video. It's a pickups video, I guess. You know what? Let me turn down the Chrome CD that's playing right now. Uno momento. Por favor. That's like all I hear behind my head. It's rad tunes. It's not even remotely similar to what we're going to be talking about tonight. So, it's 2022. My second video for the year. And it's already the middle of February, so shows you how on the ball this guy is, or not on the ball at all. I was on the ball at the end of 2021 and going into the first week of 2022 when I was like, you know what? What I never do, one thing I never ever take it upon myself to commit to at the beginning of the year, every year, which so many other people do. You see it on fucking Facebook, you see it on Instagram, you see it whatever social media you use. If you're on Tinder or OkCupid at the beginning of the year, you see lists of fucking New Year's resolutions. I don't do them. Generally because I know that intentions are good. Inevitably within a month's time, 2 months' time, 3 if I'm lucky, if I'm like the holdout at that point, you just don't stick with that shit. Especially if it's like diet related or like exercise related. Something always happens. Something gets in the way. You end up with 1 or 2, 3 too many cheat days in the month. When you're cutting out all that red meat. What's the point? I don't do New Year's resolutions, but this year, I don't know, I had a very tenuous end to 2021. Not like a breakdown or anything like that, but just like a lot of introspection occurred, a lot of reevaluating, I don't know, what I was doing, what I was interested in, what I want to pursue, what I want to fucking indulge myself with, or really get my head stuck in. I'm a music fan. I'm a music nerd, obviously. I've been doing this YouTube channel for 7 years now? Jesus, seven years. And to those of you who've been here since the beginning, thank you. Thanks for sticking with me. I know I've done a lot of different things throughout the years, kind of trying dip my toes in different sort of things, shits, whatever. And if you're still watching after 7 long years, it's awesome. I appreciate it. And for people who've only been watching for a year or even less than a year, brand new subs, thank you. I do appreciate it. I really, really dig the back and forth in the comments section, the conversations that will break out depending on the topic at hand. So, as you know, I listen to some very predictable music. Punk rock, metal, thrash, death, traditional heavy metal, new wave of British heavy metal, you know, the dirtbag shit. First love will always be fucking hardcore punk. And one of the things I find is when you don't really venture out of your niche, it can be easy to kind of fall into a gatekeeper sort of mentality. And I think it's good to break out of that sort of rut, I guess is what it is, it's a rut, by challenging yourself with listening to something different. Now, I'm pretty familiar with a lot of genres out there. At 45 years old, I just kind of know what I like, and generally because I don't like straying from my comfort zone, I stick with that. Throughout the years, I've experimented in a lot of different wild types of music, and a lot of it has stuck with me. I don't really talk about it much on the channel because I don't have a lot of like extended thoughts or like really deep introspection or like comments on these albums that might be out there for my taste that haven't already been said by somebody who's way more familiar with the topic. But I've been toying with this idea, and I tossed it around to a few homies. Ryan Kidd, sub his channel. Metal Theologian Aaron, love you, brother. Been a real good impetus to me diving into this realm. What realm is that? Have you not guessed by me bringing up Aaron, Metal Theologian, who probably talks or has talked more about jazz than metal? Yeah, jazz. I've liked jazz historically. I've never hated jazz. What I kind of hate is like the the public impressions of what jazz is. You know, like the idea that Kenny G is. I know that's like a real basic, like simple, low fruit sort of example, but I mean, you know, dispute it. Smooth jazz is like not what anybody with their feet firmly planted in SoCal hardcore punk or nardcore or the Boston scene is going to want to hear about or talk about for the most part. Sometimes some of those guys are back and forth. Look at Black Flag, you know, the guitar stylings of one Mr. Greg Ginn. A lot of jazzy elements to that shit, especially the instrumental record, which its name escapes me right now, but it's got the devil looking through the microscope. You know the one I'm talking about. Record rules. It's got a lot of jazz elements to it, a lot of stoner elements to it too. They really kind of just took a mishmash of everything. Point of the story, long story short, is that I've always somewhat appreciated it at a glance. I've bought very basic jazz CDs. Now, what I'm getting to, I haven't even shown a record, and I'm almost 8 minutes into this shit. So at the beginning of the year, I decided to purge a good deal of my CD collection. Now, while going through the stacks and the shelves, I found one that I'd forgotten that I had, and it's a CD called Panthalassa, and it's a Miles Davis album. It's not any formal Miles Davis album, so basically it's a restructuring of songs off of the one that I couldn't find. I think it's in the car. At any rate, Bill Laswell, who I came upon years and years and years and years back when I got really into grindcore and like its offshoots, discovered the band Praxis and Painkiller, as well as Axiom Funk, Chaos Face, Cypher 7, the Decipher? I don't know. At any rate, Laswell, fucking material, genius. At any rate, he took several of Miles's tracks and basically restructured them, and it's an amazing album. I listened to it when I found it on the shelf. I was like, I'm gonna check this out, and that kind of really hammered home that was the realm of music I wanted to explore. So I've been buying a lot of jazz, blind buying a lot of jazz. And every once in a while I hit up like Metal T, be like, hey, what do you know about this record? Or what do you know about this artist? He's been a big help. But for the most part, I've just been kind of basing my purchases off of cover art, song titles, what I kind of know in passing about whatever artist it is. So what I wanted to do is I kind of pulled, I don't remember, like 4 or 5 records that I've really sunk into, for better or for worse, and kind of my impressions as like somebody new to this realm of music is taking away from it. So it's not really in any sort of order other than like year of release maybe. So the first one I want to talk about, I love this record. John Coltrane, Giant Steps. Now, from what I've read, what I've been told, this is generally not the Coltrane record most people recommend you start out with. This was at my local for like $4. So, yeah, I grabbed it. I've never read anything bad about this record. Never heard it. I heard like Um, Love Supreme, of course, and bits and pieces of Olay, which I also picked up. Another fucking fantastic record. Blue Train, the standards. This record I'd never heard before. I'd never seen this record. And to say that, whoa, what is that, John Coltrane? I think everybody who's really into jazz probably knows this record. I feel like the music's still too loud. I don't know. Okay. I'm a little scrambled right now. Long day at work. Everything breaks on President's Day. So, yeah. It's just a basic set. Nothing special. On, Atlantic. So it's from his Atlantic years. I don't know how many Atlantic years Coltrane had. I'm still, like I said, delving into this. This album in particular, though, one of the reasons that, I can confidently hold this in front of the camera and say, I fucking love this album. There are tracks on here that legitimately give me the chills. They make the hair stand up on my arms, the back of my neck. They got a lot of it back there, trust me. I don't love every track on here. The track, I don't know if this is the right pronunciation, Naima, second to last song on the album. It's not really fully my bag. I don't hate it, but I think between Saida's song flute and Mr. PC, it kind of breaks up the flow of the record. I just the soul and the heart and the tenacity and the energy to perform this album is just mind-boggling. Giant Steps, amazing track, first track on the album. For me, the cut on here is Spiral, and Saida's song flute. Those two tracks are just perfect. And they both, like I said, have sections where I'm literally if I'm really focused in on it, just in awe, really. So outstanding. I can't wait to dive into more of Coltrane's discography. Like I said, I've got Olay as well. I'm kind of taking my time. I'm not trying to buy everything by each artist that I'm looking into. I'm trying to get a nice base established and then kind of go from there. So the next album that I want to talk about here is an actual album. If I can grab it. Jesus. Criminy. This was a blind buy. It's Joe McPhee, Nation Time. Reissue from Superior Viaduct, I don't know, maybe 2018. It's not new, not a new reissue. Pretty, from what I could tell looking at the Discogs site for this album, pretty on point to match the layout of the original release. Comes with a real nice insert. Got Joe on the sax there. First of all, the thing that was really striking about this to me when I saw it was that high contrast cover and that gloss. It's just it's so nice. Plus Superior Viaduct, they did all the they're doing, because there's still more to come, all those reissues of the X, which are outstanding, and their album Tumult is forthcoming next month, I believe, through Superior Viaduct. But yes, that photography, instantly reached for it when I saw that picture. And then the photography inside, especially this photo here, it's just fucking great. You've got a little write-up about the history of the album by John Corbett. Don't know who that is. Now, when I was in high school, we had to read books. I'm sure you still read books in high school. I was stoked about reading books in high school, though. It's one of my favorite things. I was always ahead in our reading assignments. Now, we had to read some Amiri Baraka, otherwise known as Leroy Jones. I think he wrote under both. Leroy Jones was his pseudonym, if I'm not mistaken. At any rate, Amir Baraka had a book called Nation Time. And I don't think it's far-fetched to say that the book and the album are somewhat intrinsically intertwined at this point, because of just how relatable they are to each other. Nation Time, the only track on the A-side, 18 minutes long, is like an anti-war epic. It's protest music. It's awesome. And one of the things that really kind of has connected with me with a lot of the jazz that I have discovered is kind of the parallels between jazz and punk rock. A lot of drugs involved in both scenes, a lot of DIY involved in both scenes, a lot of spur of the moment. You have this much time to record, otherwise it's going to cost you this much extra, or the label's not going to cover it, or you have no label, so deal with it, sort of thing. That spontaneous burst of energy that you hear in punk and hardcore, crossover, I think is also present in jazz, especially this record. This is up there as far as my favorites that I picked up. Joe McPhee, his sax, his trumpet, fantastic. The electric piano is awesome. That's Mike Cole. Bass, especially. The drums, the percussion is awesome as well. All the contributors to this record are great. Shaky Jake, second track, first track on the B side. It's great. It's real smooth, uplifting almost, uproarious and uplifting, optimistic. Scorpio's Dance again carries that vibe. It's anarchic and raucous and cacophonic, cacophonous, pretty sure that's not even a word, cacophonous, but there's a structure to it and a rhythm, and it rules. Joe McPhee, awesome. So the next album I'm gonna show or talk about, I never thought I'd buy one of these records when I was younger. I knew the band, I knew the name. I never really had a full grasp of what they sounded like because I never investigated, because they're called, Camera Problems, Weather Report. And this is their first album from 1971. And when I was younger, I heard Weather Report tossed around, and it just made me think Tower of Power. I'm not a Tower of Power fan, if you couldn't guess. I'd rather listen to like NRBQ than Tower of Power, and that's also saying a lot. At any rate, not at all in the same category, really, to me. Again, I'm not an expert. I'm new to this shit. So if what I'm saying about this is totally stupid or incorrect, and you feel the need to draw attention to my ignorance to this genre down below, go for it. I'll get into a conversation with you, get a little back and forth. Now, one of the things I didn't know about Weather Report is that Wayne Shorter was involved. He's on saxophone, and I really like Speak No Evil by Wayne Shorter. It's one of my, as far as the accessible jazz that I investigated early on, that was an album that I latched on to. I never really went further than that. So like All Seeing Eye, another great one. But we're not talking about Wayne Shorter's solo shit. We're talking about Weather Report. His sax on here is killer. But really, I don't know. To me, the credit goes to this guy, Miroslav Vitis. Is that Vitis? Miroslav Vitis or Vitis? I'm not sure. His bass, just outstanding. And another thing that really compelled me with checking out this record is just like, and every time I put this on, I just stare at it. It's this cover. Yeah, there's some ring wear. It's kind of, it's an old copy. It's an original. I don't know what that is, like at all, but it's such a compelling visual piece that you just kind of stare at it when the record's on. It's killer. No, this is just, your basic Columbia red labels, no big deal there, and there's no insert or anything like that. I don't know if this came with like an original label sleeve or something like that back in the day. It's fusion. I mean, for lack of a better word. I've, familiar with Bitches Brew by Miles Davis. Who isn't? Great record, although I think In a Silent Way is better. But that's a good point of reference for this album. I think more akin, though, to like Herbie Hancock's Sextant. It's more ambient than Bitches Brew. It's less rock. And I think they probably I've got the first 2 weather reports. This is the first one. I still need to pick up the third, which I've been told is fucking great as well. I've also been told that the Jaco Pastorius era of Weather Report is really good. And I haven't delved in that far either. That's like getting to like the 4th and 5th or 5th and 6th records. This album is great. It's dark, it's ominous, it's foreboding, it is brooding. It's funky in that like maggot brain sort of way almost. If you're not into fusion, you don't like electric guitars in your jazz, you're probably not going to dig this. Although, it's just an electric bass as far as I know. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. There's no real credits on here. But the point is that it's a fantastic record, and I spin it a lot since picking it up. And I grabbed it probably like early January. It's fucking great, man. I dig it a lot. So the next record we're going to talk about, I forgot to take out of the not shrink, but the sleeve, and it's fucking adhesive sleeve. Why do labels insist on continuing to use adhesive sleeves? I don't know. I'll never know. I just threw it across the room, so whatever. Doesn't matter. At any rate, I don't know what year this album was originally cut in. I know that it was originally released in 1983, but I'm 100% certain these tracks are older than that. That's Sun Ra, Fireside Chat with Lucifer. Now, first of all, how could you see that cover on a shelf at a record shop and not want to at least look at what's on it? And then you see Sun Ra in all his might and glory on the back of the record, and you think, wow, this album is probably really far out there. And honestly, it's not that far out there. Yeah, it's free jazz, which is a genre that I kind of delved into, becoming obsessed with, like John Zorn. Back again when I discovered Bill Laswell, like Painkiller, I discovered John Zorn and Naked City, and then from Naked City led me to his soundtracks, which led me to like more of his rock stuff with like Trevor Dunn and the other guys from Bungle. Long story short, that kind of informed my impression of free jazz. Peter Brotzman's Machine Gun is an album I've enjoyed for a long time. It's like a grindcore record, which is kind of how it was introduced to me back in the day, thanks to an old friend working at Tower Records, high school years, man, like long time ago. At any rate, it's free jazz, or space jazz as people like to call it, but I think it's actually, I think it's pretty accessible, especially starting off with the first cut, Nuclear War. Again, like the Joe McPhee, Nation Time. It's a protest song. Obviously, nuclear war. It's an anti-nuclear war, but mostly about nuclear disarmament. And yes, the lyrics are pretty simple and pretty stupid. Nuclear war, it's a motherfucker. Yeah, it is. That's the point. 3 tracks though on the A side. Retrospect, great instrumental. A little short on the 5-minute side. Same with the third track, Makeup. Really awesome. Really the centerpiece and like the piece de resistance, as I've started saying in my videos to this album, would be Fireside Chat with Lucifer, the B-side. It is 20 minutes long. It's long. It's a beast, and it is full of swells and build-ups and crescendos, and then subsides back to like a quiet ambience, atmospherics that are almost will lull you into like a soothing sense before it gets on edge and freaks out again. they attain some really killer melodies, some really good hooks if you're really listening to what's going on. And of course, you know, it's all about Sun Ra's piano and his synthesizer and his organ use. But everybody on this record fucking brings it. I don't know, you know, I'm not familiar with anybody else on this record other than it's his Outer Space Orchestra. I don't know how often he used the same folks between his albums. I've seen the Metal Theologian's Sun Ra collection. It's fucking daunting. But yeah, this is great. I love it. Again. And the last record I want to talk about. Hopefully we don't hit the 30-minute mark. We're at 25:56. I don't have a lot to say about this record, but I blind bought this a couple weeks ago. Like I didn't know anything about this record other than it is Jonas Hellborg. And Jonas Hellborg I knew of because I'm a fan of Material, which is like Bill Laswell with an ever-rotating roster of guests, including like Bernie Worrell, Buckethead, I think has been involved with Material in the past, and as has Jonas Hellborg. This is his record, second solo bass album from 1986. This is the back, Relativity Records. So it is on the, I don't know, I've always dug this label, the Relativity label. It's called Elegant Punk. Elegant Punk, second bass solo bass album. I didn't expect it to be punk. What I actually kind of expected, and I pulled this because this is what it reminded me of when I first saw it in the store, is that it would be an album similar to this one, the Manuel Gottsching Inventions for Electric Guitar, which is a krautrock record in which Manuel, I mean, he's German, right? Not sure. Anyway, that's not the point. He does a lot of experiments with the guitar, layering, texturing, using a lot of effects, pedals like wah and delay, and phasers and chorus pedals, aplenty. That record is crazy. It sounds like a full band. You know, it's just him on guitar. I was kind of expecting maybe something along those lines, but a little jazzy. And you get that with this to a certain degree. It's just Jonas on bass. It's an interesting kind of flow though. Like there's individual tracks, but it flows as if it's one individual track as a whole. Starting off with, you know, real quiet bass drone, and then he goes into a Little Wing cover by Hendrix. So transformed that unless you're like super familiar with the Hendrix version, I wouldn't even have recognized it as a cover of a Hendrix song. He starts off using just like a fretted bass on the first side. The B side is fretted and fretless, and then he also adds in acoustic guitars. The last track is the only track that I really have a complaint about, called Elegant Punk for Guitars, in which it's him on guitar and no bass, as far as my ears can tell. I don't know if there's any layering tricks to that track or not, but it disrupts the flow of the record a little bit. First couple listens, I didn't really know what to think of this. I love bass guitar. I have a bass guitar. I like to think I can kind of play it. And I appreciate kind of the strength of your fingers needed to play good bass, especially if you're going fretless. And he's a beast. One of the godfathers of slap bass. There is a little bit of like Seinfeld bass on here, but not to where it's like just, you know, straight up gross sample of slap bass. It's organic, in the vein of Bootsy, you know, a generation prior. I'm just gonna keep rambling and saying The point is that it's a compelling record. It's an interesting record, and it's a challenging record for me. Like I said, it took me 2 or 3 listens to really get my head around it and say, yeah, I dig this record. I like it. I bought a few other records, jazz related, that are still sitting with me, that I'm still digesting, still trying to determine whether they're keepers or whether they're ones to just kind of hang on to and see if maybe they click a year down the line. I don't know. But it's been an interesting journey. I'm stoked about it. I'm really enjoying what I'm finding in this stuff. I like to think I'm pretty good at picking out winners, because while there's been a few that haven't quite clicked, I don't think I picked a dud yet. I've had a little help, but really I'm kind of just basing it off of what I already know about music. And again, I've been a fan of music for a long time. I know how to sit and absorb music. That space where you're focused intently and solely on what it is that you're hearing, as opposed to just doing shit in the background while something's playing. So you have that ambient noise keeping you company while you're like folding the laundry or whatever, doing your bills, or, you know, cooking dinner. Not that that's the wrong time to listen to music either. There's time and place for everything, music-wise. But I think that there are certain types of music and certain genre conventions that kind of require you to put more into it, put more effort, more work into what you're hearing. And that way you don't come off, you know, like a simpleton saying, oh, well, jazz just sounds like Kenny G, which isn't true. Or like it all sounds like the guy who wrote the Charlie Brown soundtracks, Vince Guaraldi or whatever, however the shit you pronounce his last name. And I love that shit too. Charlie Brown and me, like this. I love Peanuts. Now I'm on another tangent. So at this point, I'm done. I got nothing else to show. I got nothing else to talk about jazz-wise. Expect to see more records thrown into collection updates and pickup videos and maybe other videos along these lines of my impressions. Yeah, if you got anything to say or add or recommend, down there, I'll respond. Let's get some fucking back and forth going. I love that part of this fucking shit. That said, thanks again, YouTube, for subbing, for you know, watching, for giving me your time, and listening to me ramble. I do appreciate it, sincerely. Don't be shitty. Stay healthy.